You ready to do this, Stu?
I am ready. Pull it, Chewie.
Welcome, super friends, to the Fortress of Nerditude podcast, a safe place to talk about all things in nerd and pop culture. I'm Spencer Stapleton, and my co-pilot is Stu Jones.
Oh, wow.
We're two nerds that just refuse to grow up. Thank you for joining us. This is episode number 91. We release every Thursday morning. You can find us on our website, fortofnerd.com. We have links to iTunes, Google Music, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, and everywhere podcasts are available. Stop by, relax a while. If you like what you're hearing, hit that subscribe button and get us automatically each and every week in your ear holes. Stu, 91 episodes. 91 is important because that's the year the Bulls won their first championship. And I'm glad to be here with you, man. How are you doing?
Boy, you just had to bring up the Bulls.
Chicago Bulls for life, man.
My nemesis.
Michael Jordan, baby. All the way, all day, every day.
Well, you should do other things. Find some other hobbies. Sports ball, indeed. I'm good, my friend. How's it going?
It's going. So let me start off by saying that...
I'm afraid.
and rightfully so. You made a comment just a moment ago off the air that I'm not going to reply to at the moment, but I said, ooh, speaking of which, this reminds me... And you got very scared.
I did. I am, and I will be.
Here's the thing. Have you ever done something to your body that your body just wholly hates you for and rejects in such a manner that it punishes you as a result of this?
Every time I eat too much Mexican.
Yeah. This is probably a little worse than that.
Hot Mexican, but still.
So on Friday night, I did my jogging, right? I did my third day of week 2 of jogging on my Couch to 5K thing. And I was like, okay. And I looked ahead to the next week and I was like, all right, I'm a little scared by the jogging regimen next week, but I think I can do it. And I got up Saturday morning and I mowed the lawn and I walked around Costco and I just did a whole bunch of normal stuff. And then later in the evening, for some reason, I got this little pain in the top part of my leg, right where it meets my hip. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a little weird. And then I sat down and you and I jumped on World of Warcraft and we played for a number of hours. And then I said, hey, Stu, I'm going to jump off. Good night. And I took my headset off and I went to stand up and I got this intense, sharp, shooting pain right in my hip groin area. And I was like, ooh, what is going on? What? Oh no. And I doubled back over, sat back down. I was like, okay. The pain subsided a little bit, but it still was there. I went to stand up again and it literally dropped me to my knees, which also hurt horribly. And so I crawled upstairs and into bed and I kind of laid down and I didn't sleep very well, and
I can't imagine why.
I got up Sunday morning and I started trying. I was like, oh, let me see if I can go walk off whatever that was. And I went down and got on the treadmill. I walked for about 3 minutes and I was in massive pain again, and I crawled back upstairs. And so, needless to say, I have pulled/strained my groin muscle. I am taking ibuprofen like they're M&Ms, and I've been icing down my crotch with an ice bag, hence the ice bag right here in my hand. And
it looks a lot like a bag.
It is, and it's full of ice. Imagine that. So I've had a cold lap all day today. I could barely walk around the office. People kept asking me, what's wrong? I was like, I hurt myself. And they're like, oh, you're finally exercising, and then you overdo it and you hurt yourself. Making fun of me. I'm like, hey, I'm in pain, man. Give me a break. I'm trying to be healthy. And my body just doesn't like it, apparently. So, to be honest, I'm a little bummed. I'm kind of down, actually, about the whole thing, because I've been working real hard on my dieting and eating right, and I've been working real hard on getting exercise, and I can barely walk right now. So the idea of going in and doing my nightly walk or my nightly jog, I want to do it, but there's just no way that I can do that right now.
See, all I'm hearing right now is warning, warning, warning. Don't try this at home.
Eat Oreos and
Yes.
get happy.
I have never pulled my groin eating Oreos. And if I did, I think I'd earn it. So,
yeah. Let me tell you, sitting is uncomfortable. Standing is excruciating right now. Walking is just pure murder. So I always used to look down at athletes. I'm like, they pulled their groin. They're out of the basketball, season for the next 6 to 8 weeks. You got to be kidding me. It's just a pulled muscle. No. Oh no. I now have empathy. I feel so bad for every athlete that I've ever mocked for pulling a groin muscle.
Well, there's only one thing that will actually help with that pain. And that's that if the Super Friends leave a 5-star rating on iTunes and they call the voicemail.
Right. But, however, this weekend I did fire up that old pit barrel cooker.
Potbelly cooker.
And I made basically it's a pork chop, but it's basically ribs with a big pork loin on it. And so I made that up, and I've reserved a little pork in reserve because this weekend I'm going to be making some of my famous stuffed Chicago deep dish pizzas for a poker night with coworkers, and I think I'm going to experiment, and I'm going to make a pork chop pizza. Hashtag pork chop pizza. And I messaged Chelsea Capri and let her know, and she gave me a hard time for, letting a pregnant woman know that we're having awesome food without her.
Well, as the true inventor of the pork chop pizza, I will barge my way in.
So here's the thing, Stu. You're invited to come with us Friday night and come play and come eat pizza. So we can talk details off the podcast, but you are more than welcome to come. It's in the neighborhood. It's close.
Yep.
So.
I will have some pork chop pizza and steal all your money.
Hey, I'm down with that. It's a good time always. So that's coming up and going on. Obviously, I said I started playing World of Warcraft. I downloaded and paid for the Battle for Azeroth expansion. So I've got a character at 110, almost at 111 already. And just kind of playing around. I'm having a lot of fun. I convinced a coworker to download it. He's got it downloaded and started a character on Airy Peak tonight, the server we're on. And so that's been going on. We had some fun running some dungeons the other night together.
Yep.
Yeah. And then the last thing, and I got a little bit of news, but I haven't been able to say anything for a few weeks. I've known for a few weeks now. I actually started a new job today. And
oh, yeah.
It's not necessarily a new job, but it's a new employer. So basically, one of our main clients for the company I worked for got bought out by a corporate client, and they hired me away. And so I'm now working for them, which is really sad because I loved my coworkers and I loved my boss. I loved the opportunity I had working for them, but this was a good opportunity to still support the client and a good opportunity for my family, so I had to take it, and I just haven't been able to talk about it much because they hadn't made it official. But today was day one of my new employer, so I'm still sitting in the same place. I'm still doing the same thing I've been doing for 3.5 years. I just now get a paycheck from a different person.
So what you're saying is that you're sitting in the same seat, you pulled your groin, and you're making pork chop pizza.
And I'm playing World of Warcraft, yeah.
Well, there you go. That's the dream.
Not the groin thing, man. Oh, that's a nightmare.
Well, that just means you worked hard at something.
Apparently.
Yeah. Well, I have been playing a little bit of WoW too since I was in the dungeons with you. I have made it now to 120. Free advice right now for everybody is, like, as you level up through there and you get some new ship missions, or you get new missions to new areas of the map, go do those until you're friendly with the reps involved, and then go back to what you were doing, because once you get 120, you have to earn friendly with all those reps anyway to continue the ship stuff. So save yourself a little bit of trouble. I had to go chase that crap down.
So you're saying which reps do you want to get friendly with?
There's like 3 main reps for each of the 3 main areas of the continent that you're on.
Uh-huh.
So those 3, I don't remember the name of them, but...
And you just get the rep just by doing quests for them.
Yeah, you just like say when you get to 112, that map that you chose your first area from, it'll let you choose a second one for a starter quest. Go do that when you do that until you get to friendly with that rep. It doesn't take very long at all, but that's not the thing you want to go chase down once you hit 120. You want to go do all the cool stuff.
Right.
Which is cool stuff, honestly. It's good. Getting into a lot of world PvP, because you, like the Warfront stuff takes you to the Alliance continent. So you're running around trying to do your stuff while they're just minding their own business doing theirs, and suddenly, steel clashes. Otherwise, I had Morgana this weekend. I did some yard work, like some continuous yard work, which for me is a big deal. Like, I just wanted to mow one part of my yard that was getting kind of unruly, and was thinking, I'll go take care of that, charge the battery, maybe do something Sunday, whatever. And I started, and I just kept going and mowed the whole dang thing and pulled some weeds, and it was really weird and out of character. Nice.
And how does the yard look now?
It's still like crap, but much better.
Better crap?
It doesn't draw eyes. It doesn't draw unwelcome attention every time somebody drives past.
So you're saying you polished a turd is what you're saying.
I did polish a turd. And I kept polishing that turd. But, and then we went and saw a movie on Saturday that I think I'd like to talk about a little bit later.
Okay, we can do that.
But Mo and I had a lot of fun with my AMC Stubs movie pass.
Oh yeah, welcome to the party.
Yes. Yeah. You sold me on that when you were talking about it the one time. I just hadn't pulled the trigger yet. Hadn't had a movie that I wanted to see.
Okay. So I want to follow up some questions on the A-list experience. We'll talk about the movie thing later. Yep. But
yes, I did order. I did order stuff.
Did you do the order stuff on your phone?
Yeah,
first of all,
just popcorn and soda. But yeah,
and they delivered it to your seat.
They sure did. Morgana was so upset that we just passed the concession stand on the way in and didn't get anything. And then they brought it right before the movie, and she was all excited. So
nice. So she had no clue. You didn't tell her that you were doing that.
She was like, "Oh, we need to get popcorn." I'm like, "Nah," and didn't even say anything else. Just, nah. She's like, "Oh, okay." And she's being a trooper. She's not complaining too much, though she asked a few times.
Did you change the time, like, because you can say like, "Hey, deliver it."
I did.
5 minutes before or after. When did you tell him to deliver it?
10 minutes before, and I got it like a minute off the mark. So awesome.
Nice. I've decided now that if I go see like a Disney movie, if I'm going to order that stuff, I'm going to order it for like 20 minutes after the movie's supposed to start, because that's about 5 minutes before the previews will actually end.
Yeah, we did get through like half the bag of popcorn before the movie actually started.
Yep.
But another interesting perk is that I have a Chase Disney credit card, my Darth Vader credit card.
Yeah.
And their rewards program ties to, you could tie that to the AMC stub stuff. So I had like $100 and something in reward stuff that I was never going to use. And now I should have a card for redemption in the next couple days that I can just deposit that on the AMC stuff. So like I've got my concessions taken care of and all that for the next couple movies I see.
Nice.
Or extra tickets for my family member that I can order right then and there.
There you go. My wife's only complaint about the AMC thing is because with the movie pass, like, you could game this system. Let's be honest. I could go and pick up a ticket and bring it home, and my wife could walk in with that ticket. With the AMC thing, like, I don't know if you've had this experience, but they'll ask you to see your ID.
Yeah, and they actually have the letters ID on the ticket.
Right. And so, which is interesting because the first time I used it, they didn't ask for my ID. They just scanned it and let me in. The second time I used it, they asked for my ID. The third time I used it, it was so late at night that no one was even checking the tickets. I just literally walked right in and sat down. So I could have just, not had a ticket, or anyone could have not had a ticket and just walked in and sat down. But
yep. It's they actually ID'd me twice, because I went to the ticket booth to get my tickets. He ID'd me there. And then I went through, the ticket taker person, and they ID'd me there. I was like, I swear I'm over 21. I'm fine.
So you went to the booth. Did they like print tickets for you then?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I just walk right up to the little guy where you give the tickets to, and he just scans it and asks for that. And so
Really?
I figured why go actually get the tickets printed?
I didn't know they scanned that.
Yeah. They got a little app, a little thing on the thing. Bree does a little bummed that we can't kind of use it unless we're together. She couldn't go use it on her own. But I keep hearing rumblings that they may come out with a family plan, and so if they do that, we may pay a little extra to move up to a family plan, because then we could take Brita could maybe go on hers or with a family plan, and maybe the kids could come. And anyway. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But good. I'm glad you like that.
Yeah. Overall, it was a great experience. It was better than just so Movie Pass, and it's in the incarnation that I got it for $10 a month. See all the movie, one movie a day, whatever, any movie I wanted to. That was convenience, but that was not an experience.
Yeah.
That was actually kind of a little annoying, but I mean, you got more than what you paid for. You had to be within so far of the theater, and then you scan your app, blah, blah, blah. This was actually a streamlined movie experience. I'm very happy with that. It's definitely worth the $20 a month, which Movie Pass would have been worth $20 a month. And if they had charged that in the first place, maybe we wouldn't be in this whole fiasco that we are with them now. But if nothing changes with AMC, I am very greatly pleased with that. 3 movies, any movies. I love 3D movies. I don't know if they ever show them at our theater. I've never seen one there, but
yeah, they do.
Okay, but yeah. So I mean, any 3 movies, and I can take people with discounted thing, and I get perks. I'm hooked.
And if you travel and you go to an AMC that has IMAX, you can go and see IMAX movies as well.
Yep, that would be Centerville.
Do they have an AMC in Centerville?
Yes, they do.
I thought they just had the Megaplex.
Is that not an AMC? I'm pretty sure that was an AMC. Was it not?
I think there's one in South Jordan somewhere around us, and then there's one like in Provo.
I'm not going to Provo.
Yeah, right. I'm going to drive an hour.
But either way, I mean, still a good gig.
Nice. Anything else happening in your life besides, switching it up and getting on the A-list?
Nope, just getting ready for Mo to move in tomorrow.
Nice.
Move back. Move in.
Move back? Yeah.
Not like she didn't live here in the first place, but yeah. So we're going to her back to school night tomorrow night. Her mom's going to be down here, get things set up, bring some stuff.
Is she going to Antelope?
She is.
Now we're going to back to school night tomorrow night. I will see you there. Charlie's starting kindergarten this week.
Oh, kindergarten. Dang it. I need to find someone to walk home with Morgana with, because that's my one roadblock right now.
Right.
But
anyway. What grade is she going to be going into now?
She's going to be
Third?
Second.
Nice.
She's more excited than anybody I've ever seen.
Yeah, I don't think Charlie, he's happy about going to school, but I don't think he gets the thing yet.
Did he go to preschool?
His daycare has preschool in it, so they have kind of times where they go down and do their separate little things. So
now Morgana went to preschool at Antelope as well, so
okay.
She was already kind of used to that experience a little bit, and she was really excited to see her preschool teacher when she went first day of kindergarten. She was already kind of acclimatized to it, and she was just ripping raring to go. The one thing I love about Antelope, and this is definitely podcast worthy, I guess, since we're sitting here talking about kids and stuff, but the red carpet stuff that they do at the school.
Yeah, what they're going to do.
That is, did they not do that for your... Oh, that's your oldest, right?
Charlie's my oldest, so yeah, we haven't done this yet.
Okay, I don't want to spoil anything then.
Yeah, but they got the big...
awesome. Yeah, they got the big red carpet thing. And it's glorious, man.
So yeah, we are doing the back to school tomorrow night, and then the red carpet. And so I'm going to adjust so I can be home a little early tomorrow night, and then go into work a little late on Wednesday.
Well, don't adjust too much; you'll pull your groin.
Yeah, dude, I got to do some stretches or something.
Oh, don't.
You have to be real careful when you Google groin stretches online. Just saying. So for Caleb Albers out there, okay, Google, groin stretching.
Oh no.
Poor Caleb.
I've seen those movies.
Caleb. Well,
anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, bring on Friday already.
Right. Bring on all sorts of stuff this week. This week's going to be great, man. There's a lot of stuff going on. We're trying to sell my wife's car, the back to school night tomorrow night. The Wednesday's the first day of kindergarten. just craziness. World of Warcraft is going to be in there.
Yep.
Pizza, poker.
It's
gonna be a good week.
I've got a big concert on Wednesday night as well.
Who are you going to see?
For Marilyn Manson and Rob Zombie.
Really?
Yep.
Where are they playing?
USANA.
USANA? Okay.
So I had gotten some tickets to that, and I'm taking Jen. But what she doesn't know is that I actually have front row VIP tickets.
Ooh.
So that's going to be smashing.
And of course, that's Wednesday night.
Yep.
So the podcast will release Thursday, so there's no chance that she's going to listen to this and then hear ahead of time.
There's no chance she's going to listen to it anyway. So
I mean, I could release it on Wednesday morning, and I could tell her to listen.
She won't listen
okay.
to you or the podcast, so.
That's too funny. Well, good. You'll have to let us know how the old concert goes.
Yep.
I haven't been to a concert in a while.
That's my thing. I love concert going, and I always get good seats. That was something I was kind of spoiled with. That was like the only thing we could really justify doing back when I was in the Army and not really making much money, but that was the one thing we always saved up for and did. So I always have some really good seats up front. It definitely makes the experience, and yeah, it's always good.
I love going to concerts, but lately, I don't know. I've been busy. I've been doing other stuff, and it's just, I haven't been to one in I was trying to think, what was the last concert I saw? And it's probably been a few years. It's been probably quite a few years.
I usually go to like 3 or 4 every year.
Yeah,
and I think I'd mentioned before that I'm going up to Portland in December to go see Metallica with Katie.
Oh, gosh, you're killing me. I would love to see Metallica again.
Oh, yeah. My favorite was the one where I was actually in the middle of the stage, where they had like the diamond stage for the Wherever I May Roam tour.
Yeah.
Yeah, right in the middle of that nonsense.
I think the last time I saw them was like 2009, 2010 when they came here. They were doing the Death Magnetic tour. And they did kind of the circle in the round kind of thing, where they kind of just moved the stage around and whatnot. It was okay, but like I was down on the floor, and I was probably about 3 people back from the stage. So there was a couple times when Kirk was just going crazy. I'm like, oh, dude, I just got sprayed with sweat. I was like, yes!
Well, unfortunately, this concert coming up Wednesday actually has general admission like in front of the reserved seating. So it's front row reserved seating, which is behind GA. So I will not get any sweat or other mysterious liquids from Marilyn Manson anywhere near me, I hope.
Probably a smart idea.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Well, Stu, that's all I got for this week. What about you? You out? You tapped?
Yeah, let's throw some Bothans up on stage with Manson and get some intelligence out of them.
I always have to let you know, many Bothans died to bring us this information.
Rest in peace, you Bothans.
All right, Stu, we're into Rebel Intelligence. What do you have for me this week?
Well, so I did my whole Deckard Cain thing, and we were thinking that we were going to get some info on new Diablo 3 stuff before the end of the year, maybe BlizzCon. But I guess out of the few things coming, they wanted to let the cat out of the bag on one thing, and that is Diablo 3 is coming to the Switch.
Oh, really?
So a couple interesting things about this. The first is that Switch is not currently an online gaming platform.
Yet.
Currently. So they are coming out with the Nintendo service soon. So I'm assuming it's going to work like all the other services. And I'm interested to see if you could play between like Xbox and Switch, though. Because they're trying to convince PlayStation to get rid of that whole cross-platform blocking that they do.
Right.
But I mean, if it's going to be on 2 different systems, hey, there's an opportunity to link it together. But anyway, so I honestly am excited for this. I've actually purchased it on PC. I've purchased it on PlayStation and Xbox. this wasn't as coming out with everything, including the Necromancer pack, but the Switch to me is kind of perfect for this. To be able to sit there and play it as a mobile game, as a handheld console, rather than having to see it on my TV or computer. I would love to sit down and just play Diablo 3 somewhere while I'm waiting for my tires to get changed or whatever the case may be, because it really is a good sit down and play game. It lends itself to a controller really well as well. So I will probably end up getting this for the 4th time, tying with Skyrim. I have 4 versions of Skyrim as well.
See, I've never played Diablo 3. I've looked at it a few times. I had a buddy that was really pushing hard for me to get it, but I was waiting for a good sale because I was like, yeah, it's been around for quite a long time. I didn't want to get it at full price. But surprisingly, it only goes on sale a few times a year, and then it gets to be like a real decent price, and then it jumps right back up to full retail.
Yeah, at a total coincidence, when I last purchased it, which was on the PlayStation 4, I had no idea, but it was the very next day that it went on sale. So, whoops.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's still a great game. There's so much content in it, and it's very pick up and play friendly. So, plus you can play it. You can play it on your home system if you have enough controllers with up to 4 people. So, kind of like all the other consoles, and you can get a Ganondorf themed armor that's unique to the Switch. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
A little Zelda tie-in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll take that. All right. Well, I don't know. I mean, I'd like to say that I get it because I am a little curious, but the reality is, man, I've still got games that I started and haven't finished, and then I just fired up WoW, and like right now, all I want to do is play World of Warcraft again.
Yeah, but you're not going to be playing WoW while you're getting your tires changed.
That's true. I mean, unless I take my laptop.
Oh, boy.
All right, so we talked about it up here at the top of the show a little bit, but Movie Pass, right? You've abandoned Movie Pass. I've abandoned Movie Pass.
Yes, sir.
Apparently, more people are abandoning recently. There's been some issues, most recently with people trying to quit, and then they find out, oh, no, they didn't actually get canceled. They accidentally got resubscribed to the new plan that Movie Pass has just rolled out.
Accidentally,
and they claim it's a bug that caused this. So a big article just came out about the financial woes of Movie Pass, and they said basically last year in the quarter we're in right now, the company lost $3 million. This year, in this quarter, they've lost $126 million. And of course, that's attributed to the fact that they dropped their price to the $10 a month revenue, and you could go see a movie every day. You could repeat movies. But basically what's happening now is that they lost so much money. They're trying to raise money again. They're trying to offer more stock offerings and get investors to put money in. But basically, MoviePass has realized they cannot operate on its $10 a month, go see as many movies as you want.
Say it ain't so.
Yeah, now it's switched, and like last month they announced there was a $15 plan that was going to limit you to seeing 3 movies a month, which was basically what they offered a few months ago for like $8 a month. And then now they've had the issue where people are canceling, and then they said there was a bug and it was re-enlisting people. Now they've backed off the $15 a month 3 movie, and they've dropped it back down to $10 a month, but only 3 movies in the entire month. Like, that's it. And they're basically saying, like, this is what we can basically do to try to stay afloat, is to drastically alter what they were offering. Because so many people were using it, and they were, they're operating at a loss, and they're just bleeding money right and left. Here's the thing. I do not see how this company can stay afloat anymore, because they've changed their terms of services. They've changed what they offer so many times, and they've flip-flopped so many times that is not only a bad business practice. I mean, I get it. They're bleeding. As a business, they're trying to find a way to to break even, to maybe, become profitable, but they keep changing. It's like they're just throwing things at the wall and seeing what's going to stick. And it unfortunately has angered so many of their clients, so many, customers, that people aren't showing up anymore because, you had the things where the credit card processing wasn't being paid. You have them saying, oh, there's surge pricing for movies. And then you have people going into movie theaters that are completely empty. There's no demand to go see that movie in the middle of the day, but they're still charging surge pricing because they're trying to stay afloat. They had to take this big old loan. Stu, is there any way that MoviePass keeps its doors open past the end of this year?
Well, the problem is that even if they had not changed a thing, they would probably be worse off than they are now. Because, all the subscribers that they lost, with them still seeing tons and tons of movies at $10 a month, it wasn't sustainable from the very beginning at all, no matter what partnerships they had. So, I called that, not like it wasn't obvious. It's not, I didn't have some, giant crystal ball that showed me this really strange thing that, giving people something for less than it's worth is going to cost you money, but that's what happens. So, I think it was done. I think they're done with a far, far more bitter taste in their mouth from consumers. That is going to be what's going to prevent them from redeeming anything, even like a MoviePass Part 2 or whatever the case may be after it failed the first time. It's done. It's end of the year. No, we're going to see closed doors. I would say we've got a month.
So here's something interesting. Remember a while ago I said, do you think there's any chance for a class action lawsuit?
Yep.
And we kind of talked about maybe, could there not be? Apparently one of the shareholders in MoviePass has filed a lawsuit against Helios and Matheson in New York, accusing that the CEO, Ted Farnsworth, and CFO, Stuart Benson, are defrauding shareholders with misleading information and withholding information in order to portray the company's future as rosier than it was. And so he's filed a lawsuit, and he's also encouraging people to followers, to customers or former customers, to participate in a class action lawsuit on behalf of MoviePass members as well. So,
yeah,
now whether or not that comes anywhere, to me that says, hey, it's that bad where you got a shareholder, someone who's ponied up a bunch of money, who's going after you, and he's encouraging this. Add that on to all the other negative press. I think people are just gonna abandon this thing like it's a sinking ship.
Well, the thing is the question was basically around customers being able to do a class action lawsuit. So he can encourage them all they want, but it's still a terms issue.
It's up to them. Yep.
Well, and it is a terms issue. It's going to be considered frivolous and get tossed out. But shareholders, that's a very different thing. But it could be some guy that has one share in MoviePass.
Yeah.
But the thing is they're an investor. They're not a consumer. So everything that they're promised and everything that they're reported to and reported on, definitely they're going to be held accountable for. So from that angle, burn the ship down.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it may trail along for a little bit, but I don't think it lasts past the end of the year.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if we have literally a matter of days.
Well, let's see what happens.
But either way, both of those things would be before the end of the year, so that's it. Fortress of Nerditude just killed MoviePass.
Yeah, it happened.
It's dead.
August 20th, 2018. In the arms of the angels.
Okay, I'm going to go on then. Whew, that's rough. All right, so I've kind of been going on about Amazon and Walmart and all the crazy cloud competing stuff. Amazon, with their latest, they're now working on a DVR.
Really?
For the streaming era. And I think it's interesting that this comes out because, frankly, why does anyone need a DVR anymore? Everything is streamed. Everything is consumable from some source. But, I guess there are people that still do watch some network television or live television from cable. You've got the Cooking Underwater channel, and maybe they're not streaming yet, so maybe there's a show you want to see there and you can stream it. I really think I was actually kind of surprised to see anybody. I thought DVR was dead, honestly. I know that Xfinity, Comcast, they offer it, but
I think all the major like cable satellite carriers all offer it now. Like it's almost like the standard. I mean, I know you can't get a cable box without one, but
I cut the cord so long ago that I'm not even in touch with reality anymore, apparently. But yeah, so they're going to connect it to Amazon's Fire TV, so that they have more of that home connectivity stuff. It's another device and feature to kind of get interwoven with your home entertainment, and it can work with your Fire TV stick, and it can record it and then stream it to your mobile device.
Really?
So
that's just interesting to me because I would think that Amazon, being in the streaming business already, why would they want to come up with a hardware solution to record things and keep things, copied locally in your house? Why not just, do something with the streaming? I don't know.
So one of the things it notes is that the Fire TV, which is kind of their cable solution, if you will,
right.
It already streams live content for the Amazon channels, but it can't store video. So this kind of adds that feature to that. I mean, it really doesn't seem to be very consequential, but I'm sure there's like 3 super friends out there that are like, yes, it's about time. Yes. Looking at you, Caleb.
Poor Caleb, man. We're already picking on him right and left, and we haven't even got to the good stuff yet.
But he picks on us.
No, I just say he is actively engaged with us, and we salute that.
Absolutely true.
So let's talk about Marvel and not necessarily Marvel fatigue, Caleb Albers, but let's talk about Marvel and Stan Lee.
Stanley.
Excelsior. So we all know that like we've been talking about Stan Lee for a while because unfortunately, man,
is there a new chapter?
There is, although this is actually kind of good in Stan Lee's corner. So he asked for a restraining order a little while ago, basically against this Kia Morgan, who's basically the person that's kind of been in Stan Lee's affairs. And a judge says there has to be a 3-year restraining order, and this Kia Morgan has to stay 100 yards away from Lee and his immediate family. And this is going to go on to like August of like 2021. And this was the person that, ran all his business affairs and personal life and was accused of, isolating him from the people that he loved and trusted, stealing $5 million worth of stuff. I think this was the person that was, in the whole blood scheme to do signatures. Right. And, so basically like all this is going on. Of course, Lee is still suing, and I mean, we all know how old he is, but at least the good news is that he has a restraining order. That hopefully this person's going to be out of his life, and he's going to be able to, maybe to have a better relationship with the people he wants to be around now.
Yeah. Well, I hope so. I mean, didn't he also like recently announce no more public appearances as well?
Yeah, that was a little while ago, but then he has come back to social media because he kind of gone off social media as well. And so I don't know if that was a reactionary step to some of the other things that were going on. But I mean, he is 95 years old. And so, I mean, I know that, he probably isn't traveling as much. I remember when he came to the Salt Lake Comic-Con that first year and he was like 90 or just turned 91 maybe. And I was like, man, this guy's still really spry for his early 90s. Yeah. But I mean, he's 95 now. I mean, not that 4 years is all that big of a difference.
It is when you're over 90, I think.
At that age, yeah.
And I think after 95, you start counting, I'm 95 in 3 months.
Right. Yeah, you capture and count everything.
Everything. Well, I have another Marvel property, or Disney property, rather. that Star Wars stuff. So
Yeah.
they've announced, not necessarily announced, but they've provided a trailer for their newest offering, Star Wars Resistance, a new cartoon series that starts on October 7th. Frankly, I really wish they would go longevity with some of these cartoons, like Clone Wars. I wish was just something that kept going on, like The Simpsons, for years and years and years.
But we are getting a 6th season, though.
We definitely are. So, have you seen the trailer for this Star Wars Resistance?
I have, actually, and I really enjoyed it. I only had one little gripe about it that I didn't care for. And this is going to be weird.
Well,
I understand that this is just me, but
okay.
I actually liked the anime, because I'm not usually a big anime guy.
Well, I was I was going to talk about this stuff.
No, I'm going to, but here's my gripe. So most time I would say, I'm not an anime. This actually looks pretty cool, and I love Star Wars. But the main character, the color tone of his skin that they make it is so pale that there was a few times in that trailer where he had a really kind of pale background behind him that it seemed like you couldn't tell where he was and where the sunrise was behind him. And I didn't care for that. I wish they would have maybe chose a different skin tone for him.
Interesting. So you're judging someone by the color of his skin?
No. I'm judging the artist, the art director's choice to either not have a more contrasting background or a contrasting skin tone.
Well, so a couple things. First of all, the anime style is it's very Robotech. I love the stylings of this. I love the designs of this. My first thing was not recollection of Star Wars, but of Robotech, and it was very fond memories that immediately sprang to mind. I like that it's kind of got a little bit of cell shading to it as well. You see some familiar characters. You've got BB-8. Unfortunately, it revolves around my least favorite Star Wars character in the new trilogy, and that is Poe Dameron. I kind of wish he had not been rewritten into more scenes in Force Awakens. But anyway, so it's kind of like a crew that works directly for him in some way. And to me, the character bugs me, but not because of the skin tone. It's more of the focus on the smuggler arc or the resistance pilot arc. And that to me is kind of my least favorite part of Star Wars. I don't really want to see, a bunch of sky jockeys and doing maintenance on their ships while they're trying to root out, Imperial spies somewhere. I want to see the action and adventure of Star Wars and have a lot of Jedi stuff thrown in there. But that's just me. So I'm sure some people will be happy. But anyway, so the story I'm kind of about. And the funny thing is actually I did notice the skin tone thing. And I have, there's a known bug with NVIDIA graphics cards at 4K with Google Chrome, and that it kind of whitewashes everything. So if you think it was bad on your screen, it was just pure whitewash across the screen with that character.
Really?
It's horrible. So I'm really iffy on this. Now, I know it's a trailer, and it was a short trailer at that.
Yeah, it's a minute long, right?
Yep. I don't like Poe Dameron. But I'll give it a shot because it's Star Wars, and I actually loved Rebels, so...
Yeah, loved Rebels.
I wish Rebels had stuck around a lot longer. Rebels was good. But yeah, so October 7th, coming to probably the Disney new streaming. Is that going to be out yet? They don't say anything here.
I don't think
Disney XD, sorry.
Yeah, Disney XD. Because that's where they had the Rebels, so I figured they would probably go there.
Yeah, so Disney Channel and then Disney XD at a later date. So
nice. Yeah, I'm going to check it out. I liked it. The only thing like I said, is the whitewashing. Art direction. I was like, really? I'm like, okay. You just freaking put a little more pink into that face. Just a little bit. Something to
hashtag
pop.
Pink in your face.
Are we talking about pork chop pizza again? What?
Oh, please.
So, I have a question for you.
3.
What is the number I was thinking of?
Hey, I was right.
Did you ever watch the movie The Watchmen?
I did watch the movie The Watchmen.
What did you think of that?
I even read some of the comic books. I liked it, but it is not your everyday comic book movie.
No, it's not. It's dark. It's kind of a take on where superheroes have been outlawed, and they kind of have to work in the dark and the shadows if they do anything. It's almost kind of like The Incredibles, except a lot more adulty. But it's interesting to me.
Naked blue guy.
Yeah, well, there is that scene with Jack. Except he's red, so I don't know what that's about.
Wow, it's the same movie.
Right, it's identical. It's uncanny. I ended up watching it a number of years ago because my wife had read The Watchmen for a book club she was in, and so she said, "Hey, I want to watch this movie," and I said, "Sure, okay," because I'd never read The Watchmen. I was watching it, and I was like, "Well, this is really kind of graphic." I was like, "Is this something? You sure you knew what this was?" And she's like, "I mean, I read the graphic novel." She's like, "But."
Yeah, I took Katie to see that when she was reasonably young.
Yeah,
so
it's a little rough.
That was a parenting mistake right there.
Well, it's interesting to me because HBO recently said that they were going to do a pilot for a Watchmen TV series or a series on HBO based on the DC comic by Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons, and apparently just this week now, HBO said, "Hey, we're not just going to do just a pilot, but we are going to announce that we're going to have a full series order for The Watchmen." So HBO is going to bring a full series to HBO based on The Watchmen, and it's going to be run by Damon Lindelof, who's pretty famous for the TV show Lost. And they said that they're not necessarily going to do everything that the comic does. So it's not going to be a direct adaptation, but however, they are going to use a lot of the similar themes, and it's the alternate history where heroes are outlaws, and they're going to have a lot of the story elements, but then they're going to do other things. They've got a bunch of actors and actresses that are signed on to do this already and be in this. You've got Regina King, Jeremy Irons, Don Johnson, Tim Blake Nelson, Lou Gossett Jr.
Wait, Don Johnson?
Yeah, Don Johnson and Lou Gossett Jr. It's like, where have these guys been since the 80s? But just anyway, a bunch of people. Is that something you think you'd check out on HBO?
I would probably catch it. I would catch older episodes when I go through my annual subscription for Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, so the question is who watches The Watchmen? HBO subscribers do.
Ooh,
right. We
nice.
finally have solved the mystery.
Well, now we know. But I'll be curious. I'll be curious to see what this looks like. Like I said, I'm not going to go re-up HBO just for this. But when Game of Thrones comes around, I'll do it then.
And the funny thing is we've only got one more season of Game of Thrones, so then what's it gonna be? But really, what it is I do it for Game of Thrones because that's what I want to see most current. But it's really my annual catch up on everything HBO. Because I also watch Westworld and I check out a couple of the other shows that have been popular and before the end of the season for Game of Thrones, and then I shut it back off.
I will say this about HBO. I like that they keep all of their series on streaming on their service. So even shows that are like 10 years old, they still keep them on there. Like you can go
longer than 10 years old. You can still watch The Sopranos.
Sure. Right. But I'm saying like that you still have The Sopranos. The Wire is still on there.
Yep.
Like I love that show. And so it is nice that they keep that. Whereas like the Netflixes and the Amazon Primes, because someone else made them and they're cutting deals, like they're there for a year and then they're gone to another someone, blah, blah, blah. But HBO's like, no, we own it. It's staying here for a long time. And I like that.
Yep. I really kind of dig their stuff. They definitely put out quality things. If HBO had been the news service instead of Netflix, I would have happily have gone to that. HBO kind of stuck around cable way too long. And I think that probably worked to their detriment considerably. But they still put out quality stuff, and I love a lot of things that are there. I mean, there's no reason to go to them for movies anymore, so of course they're going to be focusing on their own productions.
Which they do well.
They certainly do.
Yep.
One thing they will not be doing, apparently, though, is showing a James Gunn-directed version of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Wah, 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 wah.
Wah, wah, wah. Yeah, so James Gunn... doing his thing, minding his own business. Alt-right people kind of bring up his entire past and kind of blast that out to Disney. He loses his job. A lot of people have been fighting for him, and it apparently led to him being able to talk to Disney again. And everyone was kind of hopeful that maybe he would be back on board. So recently he met with studio chairman Alan Horn, because Kevin Feige wasn't available apparently. Had a civil and professional meeting, and then left without his job. So
that's too bad.
It did not take. They got him in there, but it didn't stick. So unfortunately, no James Gunn. Now, I know they're still using his script, but the direction is probably more important there than anything. There's definitely a chemistry with Guardians of the Galaxy. It's not my favorite Marvel stuff, but it's always been good. And I like the ebb and flow of it all. But I think we're going to see a very, very different version of Guardians of the Galaxy with the next one.
So let me ask you this.
Sad.
I've seen on Twitter a lot of the big stars of Guardians of the Galaxy and other stars from other of the Marvel movies have come out in defense of James Gunn and been asking him to, asking Disney to reinstate him, to give him his job back, blah, 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 which I think we've kind of discussed that we don't think Disney's going to do that at all because they have a pretty hard line in the sand they draw and what kind of company they want to be. Mm-hmm. Do you think there would be any way that if some of the bigger stars, like if, let's say, Chris Pratt says, hey, you give him his job back or I walk, do you think that makes any difference at all?
Considering he would then be in breach of contract and lose a considerable portion of his fortune, I don't think that's even valid enough to look at in the first place.
You're probably right about the contract. Let's assume someone like Robert Downey Jr., who doesn't have a contract, who's doing per movie basis, if Chris Pratt had that sort of deal right now. But with how big he is and how big those movies are, right? So
let's entertain the very, very far out there hypothesis that this could happen.
Thank you. I like this game.
And you and
there's
every
pork chop
ex-girlfriend
pizza involved. Okay.
All right. So I don't think they would, because as big as Robert Downey Jr. is, as big as all the actors combined are, they are nothing against the Disney juggernaut. And Disney has an empire that they very carefully mold in every direction they possibly can. I don't even think RDJ and the Chris's all combined could even get past their adamantium shield. I think they'd still stick to it. Now, if they did, and I mean, I want to make clear, I understand Disney. I can appreciate their ethics for how they want to control very carefully the family-oriented image that Disney portrays. Absolutely get it. Don't disparage them one tiny bit. But if they did bring Gunn on board, I'd be all for it.
I'd love to see him come back, but I'm of the opinion that no amount of actor rebellion, unless it was wholesale, every single one of them, enough that it would threaten the whole MCU. I think one of them, two of them say, hey, we're going to walk. I think they say, you know what, we've got enough other things. It's a shame that we won't be able to do this, but I think they just walk away from the project or recast or just kill off characters and move forward. I really think that's what they would do. I don't think there's anything that's going to change this unless someone somewhere higher up says, listen, this is just foolishness. Let's give the guy a second chance. And they do.
Trust me, though, Disney has protected themselves from that eventuality.
Yeah, I'm sure. I am sure they have. But
so unless something profound happens, no James Gunn.
That's too bad.
Yep.
I love Stranger Things.
I love Stranger Things.
We love Stranger Things. And we've said that Stranger Things, the third season, is going to take a little bit longer to come out. It's not going to come out till, I think, next summer. Something really interesting. Variety had an interview with David Harbour, who plays Chief Jim Hopper. And he says that next year's season is going to be a little kind of distant from the Steven Spielberg sci-fi thriller kind of coming-of-age stories that kind of the first two seasons were. And this season is going to be more in line with a movie from the 80s. And so you may think, okay, maybe The Goonies, maybe, I don't know, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, I don't know, something like that, right? No. Hopper says it's more like the movie Fletch, the Chevy Chase 1985 comedy, which I love the movie Fletch.
I love Fletch.
And I heard this and I went, okay.
But
what does this mean, right? How does this play? And so basically, if you think back, Fletch is a story about an investigative reporter, right? Who kind of gets caught up in like drugs and murder, and there's a lot of money, and it's kind of this big scheme. And we know that there's going to be a new character that's going to be introduced. I think every season, let's be honest, every season going forward, we're probably going to get new characters so they can tell some different stories. And there's supposed to be a character that's being played by Jake Busey. Yeah, Gary Busey's son. And his character's his name is Bruce. He's a Hawkins Post reporter with questionable morals and a sick sense of humor. So my guess...
So I'm playing in this.
Right. My guess is that somehow he's going to get involved in some sort of, joke, some sort of, I don't know, practical joke that goes wrong. And it's going to, he's going to get involved in all these things. And it's going to be up to our lovable pals, the kids of Stranger Things and 11, to somehow bail him out or save him from some D&D themed monster. That's all I got for you. But I mean, David Harbour says it's going to be more like Fletch. I love Fletch. I hope we even maybe get to see a little bit of the Fletch movie, like playing in the background. Maybe the kids all go see the movie Fletch and we get a little old school Chevy Chase in there. That would be kind of cool. I'd be down with that.
Interesting. I can't imagine how that's going to tie together, but maybe it's just a subtle direction for them to kind of hit some key points that may not even be obvious to anyone who's looking for it.
Right.
Maybe.
Could be.
But who knows?
We shall see. And by the way, I have a sweet, sweet Stranger Things t-shirt that I just got recently. I will show it to you soon.
I've got a sweet, sweet new Stranger Things bicycle. No, I don't.
I was like, really?
I wanted to, though.
Yeah. All right, Stu, you got anything else for me?
Nope. Not my voice either. It's I'm fighting it, man. It keeps wanting to go out.
You're fighting it, huh? Well, I am out on the Rebel Intelligence as well. Stu, last week we had Chelsea Capri on the podcast, which I think we can both admit that was a wonderful experience, a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. That was awesome. It was, and I'm really glad that it met the objective I think we were looking for, and we got kind of like the perfect discussion out of it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a good discussion. And so we were talking about the popular streamer Ninja and his decision that he made not to stream with women and to broadcast or announce that. And we asked our super friends, we said, what do you think of the decision by Ninja? What is, your take on the situation? We kind of want to hear from some other people. And so we put that question out to the super friends. And of course, the super friends never let us down, and we got some answers. And so I would like to read those right now. And
then
we're going to start where we always do, over on email.
Email. What the email?
Can you take a guess who sent in an email this week?
Starts with a P.
Ends with an Ischensen. That's right. Christensen. Peter Christensen. Here, let me do that again. I'll make it sound even cooler. Christensen. Peter Christensen.
Shaken, not stirred.
Right? He says, "Dear nerds, More on the Marvel Studios 10th Anniversary Festival. It looks like all the tickets are $5 to $6, which is very cheap for an evening IMAX show. We're aggressively planning our attendance.
Ooh.
I like that.
Somebody got some benefit.
That's right. He says, the second method of selling bigger things, he says, I second the method of selling bigger things on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist and donating the rest. Running a garbage sale. Man, I'm tired.
Well, Freudian slip there.
Right. Running a garage sale is no bueno. All right, let's see if I can get through this without, just tripping all over my feet. It says, the internet is a huge place, so it's no surprise that anything that's streaming gets at least some people watching. I didn't understand Twitch at first, but this helped me. Sports are popular with spectators, and while it's physically demanding for athletes, it's, let's get nerdy here, a weighted random number generator for fans. Esports and streaming serve the same purpose. You can think you know what's going to happen, but you're not sure. It still makes sense for non-famous streamers. People attend high school basketball games, and who could walk past a playground game without stopping to watch for a few minutes? That does actually kind of ring true with me, if you think about it. People do watch high school basketball games still.
I've got some thoughts about that, but I'll wait till you finish.
Okay. He says, unfortunately, the internet has also reduced the cost of communication, and we don't have the mechanisms in place yet to shield undesirable communication. It's not that hard for someone that hates you to find and amplify something, anything, to hurt you and break your personal and business relationships. There's a huge spectrum between monsters like Harvey Weinstein and people that were exonerated like Chris Hardwick, or essentially framed like James Gunn. If the writer and director of two of the most beloved movies of the last decade can be fired based on stupid comments from a decade ago, then I don't blame any lengths anyone goes to protect themselves. Having said that, I think that Ninja was wrong to choose, and especially to publicly state, that he won't stream with women. It's just too broad, and in a situation where he's not even in the same room with people, I think he's closing more doors than he is protecting himself. And it's definitely shutting out opportunities for female gamers, because cross-promotion is the name of the game in growing YouTube and podcast audiences. Now seems like a particularly bad time to be famous. I don't envy any famous person, especially any man, who has to choose how to manage their communication and public persona, knowing that a single phrase can bring you down, and you can't even predict which ones will cause the most damage. One book about this I've heard repeatedly referenced is So You've Been Publicly Shamed by John Ronson. Cheers, Peter Christensen.
Okay, I'm on board with all that. The analogy with sporting games, though, is that this is not like it's not like parents and grandparents are logging on to Twitch to watch their grandson play.
True.
People that go to high school basketball games are typically invested in that in some way. Either it's their school, their kids. I know there are a few people that go to watch those. I actually read a thing recently where it's a good first date idea because it's cheap or free. And then the walking by, a neighborhood game kind of thing. That's just there. You're not going to do that by random on the internet. You're not just going to be looking, for your new tires on Google and suddenly, oh, look, there's another screen with, some video gameplay going on. And it's also a lot more specific than, we have a few sports. There's basketball, baseball, football. There's not like
soccer,
thousands.
Hockey, curling, badminton.
There's not hundreds of thousands of different games that people are streaming all the time.
Sure.
So, you're going there. I get that it's entertainment. It's just, I don't get it at a personal level. Like for me, I don't understand the appeal of that specific focus for it. I know that other people very obviously feel very differently because it's huge. So
let me counterpoint on the sports thing just for a second. I get what you're saying, like, grandmothers and, moms and dads and aunts and uncles will go see their kids play. However, I played football some in high school, and I know, and I went to games when I was a little younger. I know that also it becomes a thing in the community. Like there's big places like down in Texas, like football is a way of life. It's a community thing. So you may be years and years removed from playing, or you may have years and years removed from your kids playing, but yet that's your local football team. That's your high school team. You still go and watch them every Friday night, and you cheer and root on your team. And, people get invested. It's kind of the same thing on a little higher level with college sports. You'll see people that are still watching, college basketball and college football decades after they leave. They don't have kids there, but it's their team. It's who they support. So they still show up to the games or, tune into the TV because they love the team. They love the sport. They want to watch it. Now, those numbers may not be like massive like you get for pro sports, sure, but people still do show up to local high school games on a Friday night or basketball games on a Wednesday night at 7:00.
That's just a different aspect of the emotional attachment I was talking to, though. I mean, there's something there that connects them to that, right? So, I don't know.
Sure. But I get it. Maybe not the best analogy is what you're saying, but I still think there's some goodness there to that analogy. I don't know if that's the best way to put it, but I really do like what Peter had to say though, regarding, everything else that, it's, I don't envy famous people and having to figure out how to be in the public eye and still have a personal life and how to craft all that. Yeah, crazy. Let's go over to Facebook. Caleb Albers.
Hey, Caleb.
He says, I haven't heard from Caleb in a while. I wonder how he's doing. He says, you guys speak the truth. I do not believe Marvel fatigue is a thing, and I never will. I'm a fanboy through and through. Also, not going to argue with a pregnant woman. I'm a lot smarter than that. He says, getting to the question of the week, I think that the way the streamer went about announcing he wasn't going to stream with women was done very wrong. I agree that a better solution would have been just to stop streaming with women, but the best solution would have been just to continue doing what he was doing, unless, of course, his significant other did have a problem with it. But if she didn't, it's just people talking. Only he and his wife know the truth, and that should be enough for him. And if by some chance his wife does take them to heart or takes those comments too hard, there may be a deeper issue there that needs to be worked between them. Hope this isn't too late. Love the episode and the discussion my wife and I had about it.
Ooh.
So
discussion, my friend.
Once again, we've sparked a discussion amongst married couples.
Nice. I like it. I think Caleb's on the money there because that's kind of the direction I think we all kind of coalesced into towards the end of the episode, that agreeing that there's definitely, even with that decision, there could have been a better way to do it, but ultimately, it's going to cause some harm anyway. So if you're going to be in the public spotlight, be responsible about it. And I think I haven't been able to get away from the thought that Ninja could have actually improved the state of women in streaming by making a point of saying, hey, I'm an upstanding guy. These are people, if something came up anyway, right. That, hey, I'm an upstanding guy. These are female streamers. I choose deliberately not to cut them out of streaming because they deserve a chance too. And, all this other stuff.
Right.
But that's not where we landed.
Over on Twitter, Mike BC at Mike BC 1985 sent us a video.
What?
It has nothing to do with the question, but it is of this lady, Katie, who makes a Hawaiian barbecue pork pizza with cauliflower crust. So we got someone that's kind of on the pork chop pizza train, I think, is what he's basically saying.
Hawaiian pork, a little different.
True, but I'm saying,
And cauliflower crust. Get out of here.
Yeah, the man's looking out. He knows I'm trying to stay away from flour. I like that. Mike, you're the man.
Have you tried many cauliflower substitutes?
A few.
Do you like any of them?
No.
The last thing I tried was some cauliflower and horseradish mashed potatoes. Mashed quote potatoes.
Right.
Never again.
Not your style.
Cauliflower is my worst substitute for carbs. And I love raw cauliflower, but it does not. Nope.
How about switching out cauliflower with broccoli? It's essentially the same thing. It's just a different color, right?
I could go with that, I think. I don't know. That's gross.
All right. So we have one last one, and we actually mentioned a little while ago, or I mentioned to you that we haven't heard from our good old friend Mr. Noodlepats. And Mr. Noodlepats reached out to me. He says, hello, boys. First, let me speak to my absence. Internet connection is very spotty in Norfolk Island. If you're not familiar with Norfolk Island, it's a tiny Australian island in the South Pacific Ocean. It's defined by pine trees and jagged cliffs. Sandy beaches include Emily Bay with reef-protected waters. Norfolk Island National Park offers views over palm forest from Mount Pitt. In the capital, Kingston, the Norfolk Island Museum traces the island's colorful past. The Kingston and Arthur Vale Historic Area has a ruined British penal colony. But enough about that. Let's talk about the boy with the colorful hair. The young man named Ninja. I say stream with whomever you want to. Yes, it would be nice to see him use his celebrity status to break down barriers, but I also don't want to argue with a man's personal decision and decide what's best for him. If this keeps his marriage strong, then cheerio to him. Side note, while I miss that red-headed stepchild, this Stu fellow is one of the highest quality, and I'm really glad he's in the fortress, being his true nerd. Be excellent to each other. Ozoj Noodlepats.
I'm just a little bit in awe.
Ozoj is a world traveler.
I guess so. This was on Facebook?
No, this was not on Facebook. Ozjo's Noodlepats has my actual direct number, and he sent me this via text message.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
I think you're making him up.
Nope. Oh, no. Ozjo's Noodlepats is a real person. And he actually called in one episode. Of course, he used a vocoder to hide his voice.
Yeah, you're not doing much to convince me here.
Yep. So anyway, thank you, Mr. Noodlepats. I'm glad to hear that you have made it safely from Costa Rica the last time when you checked in, and now you're in Norfolk Island in Australia. So,
well, we got a little bit of geography there. Also,
he does tend to do that. He does tend to tell us about where he's currently living or experiencing and what he's seeing in the world around him.
I was sitting there kind of just looking up wistfully, kind of imagining the scene he describes. So it's good. I like it. And thank you. I'm very glad to be a part of the show. I think it's been a very interesting adventure, and I'm kind of loving what I do here. So.
Nice. Well, thank you, Super Friends, for your interaction with us this week. We appreciate it. We keep doing the podcast, and we keep asking you the questions. You keep answering at all those normal places, and that's going to be our email, which is forwardofnerd@gmail.com, Facebook, which is facebook.com/forwardofnerd, on Twitter @forwardofnerd, or our voicemail, which is 801-477-7687. And occasionally, you can apparently get me on my text as well. But I'm not giving my number out directly to everyone.
How does he know you that he has your direct number?
I've known Mr. Noodlepats for a long time. So I ran into him many, 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 many years ago, and his life and mine have kind of twisted and turned around each other for quite some time.
Interesting.
So, Stu, what can our super friends do this week to help us out? Is there anything we need getting done? Yard work? Anything?
Well, yes, they can come pull my weeds, or they can go to some rarely visited vista somewhere in the world, somewhere that not many people go. They can stand atop a mountain, or they can huddle under some really beautiful tree that not many people see, and while they're on their mobile device, they can go to iTunes and they can describe that very beautiful vista in a rating where they also associate it with 5 stars to both better us in our culture and geography, as well as get our name out there, get people seeing the ratings, get us on some lists. The better ratings we get, the more lists we get on, the more exposure we get, the more happy super friends we have, and the more we love you guys. I'm not saying that love is tied conditionally to 5-star ratings, but it really is.
Thanks. One other thing I want to add that our super friends could do this week. This was probably announced a little while ago, but as you know, Brian Scott at BravesB_ on Twitter is a super friend of the show, as well as his wife Callie Scott at Braves Callie.
Oh, you are, aren't you? I know what you're doing.
They finally announced a little while ago that they're pregnant, and I figured this out a long time ago by accident. Brian just does not have a great poker face, and I figured it out, but I didn't want to say anything, and I was really nervous because I accidentally almost spilled the beans like 2 or 3 times on the podcast. But they are having a little baby girl, and they've announced it to everyone, so it's out there. It's a thing now, and I just wanted to say from the bottom of my heart here at the Fortress of Nerditude to both Brian and Callie, congratulations, guys. That's so awesome. It's their first. Just enjoy this moment, enjoy this opportunity, and Super Friends, go out there, hit them up on Twitter, show them some love, let them know that they're going to be amazing parents, and go do that. Make the world a better place.
But how do we know they're going to be amazing parents?
Because I know both Brian and Callie, and they're amazing people. I don't see.
I want to see all the highlight reels
of all the times they've been amazing.
Yep.
Whew, you are in for a long movie, my friend. So anyway, congratulations, Brian and Callie. That's
Congrats.
Really awesome. Woo! That's why we were talking about Super Friends. I wanted to kind of get that out there before I forgot. So Stu, you said you saw a movie with Mo. And you wanted to talk about it. What movie did you see?
Well, this is a movie that really I don't think has had a ton of exposure. But from the very first moment that I knew it was a thing, I knew I had to take Mo to it. And that is Christopher Robin.
Guess what? I saw Christopher Robin as well.
You know what? We should do a movie club.
Let's do it.
Let's do a movie club. We don't have music for that, do we?
We'll have to come up. Actually, we should come up with some movie club music. That'd be awesome.
It's got to have some Star Wars stuff in there. Just saying. Okay. But you know what I'd like first? To be on the banner for the Fortress of Nerditude. Just saying. But I don't know if I want your arm around me like that. That's a little creepy.
Yeah, that would be a little weird, huh?
Yeah, so anyway, this movie, I'm going to go into it with my biggest hesitation that I had before going into that, and that's that everything that gets remade from my childhood gets ruined.
Right.
Like, especially with cartoons, because you have suddenly, for whatever reason, voice actors change, and especially at our age, many of them have died since I was kids.
Mel Blanc, Jim Henson.
And and it's disconcerting to me when I hear my favorite cartoon character with a new voice. Even in the middle of series, especially when they were even being run for the first time. And it really always drove me nuts. So my biggest fear here was that they were not going to get the character voices right, that they weren't going to either sound the same or carry the same spirit or have the same tonations. And I will say without any hesitation whatsoever that was dead wrong, and I'm happy to be wrong. I thought they captured all the characters either exactly as they were or in a couple cases even better than they were originally. I was blown away, first of all, by Pooh. I think Pooh was
spot on.
Oh my God. It's just such a deadpan and innocent kind of attitude about everything. And there are a couple points in that movie where I was laughing my butt off because just how perfect it was.
I'm a bear of very little brain. Yeah. I thought, so I actually had some issues with some of the voices, but I thought that Pooh was right on the money. Like just down the line. I think Eeyore was perfect.
Eeyore was the one that I thought was actually better.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. It might have even been better.
He was like just a little more baritone and a little more personality in the voice.
No, I didn't see who did his voice. I tried to remember to look for it, but I saw a Late Show when I saw this movie. but I know Brad Garrett was one of the voices. I'm positive Brad Garrett did the voice for Eeyore.
Yeah. So let's what were your expectations before you went into the movie? Like, were you excited to see it, or you went by yourself, right?
I did. I went by myself. My expectations was that the movie was going to be kind of a bright, cheery, kind of saccharine, sweet, kind of, nostalgic romp that was basically going to, kind of find a way to kind of recapture some of that magic that the original Disney animated cartoon had. And that was kind of my expectation going into this. Unfortunately for me, it did not live up to what my expectation of what I thought the movie was going to be.
Really?
My pre-expectation. No, and we'll get into that in a little bit, but it did not. I think the tone of the film was a lot different than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I wasn't necessarily expecting any tone of it. I was my entire concern was for the characters, and my entire reason for being there was to relive those experiences with the characters. But as far as the pacing of the movie or what it was going to be about, I didn't even see a trailer. And I just knew I wanted to see a Winnie the Pooh movie with Morgana. She's read the little golden books, stuff like that, and watched the movies at when she was in preschool. They watched all the Winnie the Pooh stuff, and she likes it. And I'm a big Eeyore fanatic. I definitely have identified with Eeyore probably more than any of the other characters, but yeah,
I guess maybe one of my things was that I saw the trailer, and I don't really remember much seeing the trailer, but I thought it was going to be more of set like in modern day. And this movie is really a period piece. I mean, the movie kind of starts off and takes place, back in the 1930s when A.A. Milne actually wrote these books.
Right.
And then you see Christopher Robin in World War II, and the bulk of the story takes place probably in the very early 1950s. He's got a daughter who's probably about 7 or 8 at the time, and she was about 3 years old when he came home from the war in 1946.
Wow, you kind of put all this together.
I mean, I was thinking about this too, because I wasn't expecting it to be a period piece. I thought it was going to be a more like in modern day kind of, whatever, in a modern day setting. But it was kind of a period piece, and I wasn't expecting that, so that my expectations were off a little bit there. I think it was actually a good choice to make it a period piece, because I think maybe that fits a little closer to the original kind of stories and some of the way things were told.
Sure, a little more true to its roots.
Yeah, absolutely. However, since that was not what I was expecting, and since I went late at night, for me, the story seemed to drag. I felt that I was checking my clock to see what time it was a few times during the movie, thinking...
You pulled your phone out?
Yes.
Ooh.
There was no one in the row behind me. There was no one on my row. No one was seeing my phone.
You know what? I could be in the very back of the theater and somebody in the very front. It will distract me. It doesn't matter where you're at in the theater if I can see.
I agree. I was in the second to the back row, and no one was sitting in the back row.
This has suddenly become a very different podcast.
And it had it on night setting. But I'm like, what time is it? And I kept checking the time about every 20 minutes.
So did it just not meet your expectations, or did you just not enjoy it?
I don't think I enjoyed it, to tell you the truth. I was expecting this movie to be more upbeat. And partway through the movie, I thought, this is a movie about a man having a midlife crisis.
Well, yes. Yes, actually, that's absolutely what the movie is about.
And that was not the movie that I was really wanting to see. And I get it. Like the whole kind of idea is that Christopher Robin has always been there for Winnie the Pooh and all of the, inhabitants of the 100-Acre Woods. And so now this is an opportunity for them to be there for Christopher Robin. So it's kind of, flipping kind of the traditional narrative in the Winnie the Pooh series on its head, right?
So we should probably drop a big fat spoiler warning just in case.
Yeah, I don't know how many people are going to go see this movie. But yes,
That's not for you to decide.
spoiler warning, we're going to talk about things. Yeah, my apologies. I should have done that right at the top. Good call, Stu. So they flip things on their head. And I think maybe they even show that in the trailer, if I recall. And so I get that, but I kind of got to this point in this movie where I was like, dude, Christopher Robin's kind of an a-hole. I was like, he becomes a product of the upbringing he had. He looked like he was pretty much abandoned in a way by his father. A different time period, right? Dads were not as involved in their kids' lives. It was more of, the mom took care of them and they just made sure that they had all their needs met and didn't interact with them much, and they sent them off to boarding school. This is in England. And then, it's like getting around to his daughter's age, and you can tell that he doesn't have a great relationship with his daughter, and she wants him to read him a nighttime story, and she wants like a fictional story. She wants, Treasure Island.
Treasure Island.
And he like pulls out like the Encyclopedia friggin' Britannica and is talking about the Elizabethan era preceded by the, blah, blah, blah. And it's like,
you have a gift for retention, my friend.
Well, like I said, I was looking for things to pay attention to because my mind was starting to wander a little bit. But there's this moment, right? And you can see that like he doesn't have a good relationship with his daughter, and you can see that his daughter wants a better relationship with him. And I kind of looked at this and I was like, this is kind of sad and depressing. And then it just kind of goes on. I'm like, this is about a guy having a midlife crisis. And then here's the real kicker for me. The 100 Acre Woods inhabitants, Winnie the Pooh, Piglet, Eeyore, Tigger, Owl, Rabbit, Roo, Kanga, they want to help him, but it's like, I don't know that it's believable enough to say, hey, someone who's that entrenched in kind of his own neuroses and midlife crisis that he's in is going to be able to have a 2-day experience with some stuffed animals that he used to play with as a child, that he's going to all of a sudden now become a great father, just like that overnight.
Yeah, so that is my one gripe about the movie, was that the pacing of the redemption portion, if you will,
right,
was very rushed.
Very, very rushed.
It was like, I don't know. It's almost like going back into an abusive relationship. It's like everything's horrible, and then your ex just smiles, and you're like, "Oh, you know what? Everything's fine," and you rush right back into it.
I was more excited by the fact he figured out a way to sell more suitcases. I was excited about that. I'm like, hey, that's smart. He's taking some initiative and he's figuring out how to tap into an untapped in market. And he's offering, and I was like, that excited me about the movie. And I knew at that moment that the movie had not captured the magic for me that I was looking for. Not saying that it won't for our super friends or for anyone else watching this, but it was missing that magic that I needed it to have. And I wanted it to have.
So did you, were you big into Winnie the Pooh as a kid?
I loved Winnie the Pooh as a kid. I still, like to this day, if I can get my kids to turn on some of the old Winnie the Pooh cartoons, I mean, I know they redid on DVD and we got the digital, but if I can get my kids to watch Winnie the Pooh, I will sit down and watch, The Blustery Day with them. Or
you just keyed into the one major issue there, and that was with your kids.
I couldn't take my kids to see this, though.
Well, late at night.
No, even if it was...
Really?
See, that's the problem. Charlie's 5, Jackson's 4. I know them. We tried watching Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and the first half an hour of that movie is so slow. The kids were running around. They weren't paying attention. Once we got into the Chocolate Factory, then they were sitting their little bums down and they were paying attention because it was exciting to them and there was action, there was things. I think that they would be bored to tears with this movie and they would not sit still, which is sad because, I think that they could enjoy it potentially because they would look at it differently than I look at it as an adult. They wouldn't pick up on the sad, tragic tale that is, an adult that's lost his childhood and is never going to go back.
Right. And maybe that's maybe that's the reason that was rushed through, is so that the message of that story and elements of that story were there, but knowing that kids are going to be going to see this movie, and that's really going to be a lost part of the movie. So imagine that being told with actual storytelling, and that would be even worse for small children. But
Right.
I kind of get that with smaller kids. I don't know, maybe when it's DVD or something. But for me, I could not have seen that and gotten nearly as much enjoyment out of it as I did with More Organic, because we were laughing at the same stuff, and we were giving each other glances, and we were smiling at the same things. And it was really a shared experience, and I feel like we were definitely the target of that movie all the way through.
Right. I will say that the scenes that had the 100 Acre Wood inhabitants, right? Some of those ones where it was just them, or some of the things they were doing, really were a lot of fun. It was the whole, Christopher Robin broke down poor man excuse that he is storyline that just really did not resonate with me. But when Eeyore was on screen, he stole every scene he was in. His character was really funny. It was played really well. It was brilliantly voice acted.
The poem that he read.
Right. It was like this horribly depressing poem that like makes no sense. Winnie the Pooh was amazing and spot on the voice, like I was saying before. And you do feel like he is Winnie the Pooh. Tigger felt really, really good to me too. And,
yep.
The little bit we see of Tigger, because you don't see as much Tigger as you do Pooh. And I always really like Tigger as well. Like if Winnie the Pooh is the A-list star, he's like, and Tigger's like an A- star. He's just like right just under the A-list, but he's not a B-list star for me in the cartoons. He's a lot of fun. And there wasn't enough Tigger. There wasn't enough joy there, but what I did get, I really liked. Piglet's voice, Rabbit's voice, those just didn't sit well with me. I thought that they were just a little off and not quite there. Owl and Kanga and Roo were fine. I didn't have any issues with them, but you didn't get a lot of that. You didn't get a lot of Rabbit. You got a little bit, but Rabbit kind of doesn't go on the big journey, so to speak.
Right.
Same thing with Owl, which Owl is kind of always more of a minor character to me. And then Kanga and Roo. So Roo probably had homework to do or something. So.
I really enjoyed Tigger. Tigger was my favorite growing up, though. Again, I identified more with Eeyore, and I think Eeyore became my favorite after a while. But Tigger, when I was a kid, T-A-double-G-R, that spells Tigger.
Right.
I was like every line that he did, and I love that they had his best lines in there, because they were always overused in the cartoons anyway.
Right.
And it was very definitively Tigger. And I love the attitude that he had, and getting, out of the boxes that they're driving around. He's just causing trouble. He's single-minded and focused on solving a problem Tigger's way. I thought that was perfect, honestly. I
loved the little part where he sings his little song when he introduces himself to the daughter, Lucy, Mary, whatever her name was. Right. And then Eeyore's, and she's like, does he do this a lot? And Eeyore's like, oh yes, he does this quite a lot. And it was like brilliant moment, because it was like that little wink, the little nod to they overuse this in the cartoons.
Yeah, for sure.
He's gonna do this again. We've heard this a million times. And like, that's smart writing. That was really smart writing for me. And I did enjoy that. So like I said, there were parts of this movie that I did enjoy, but on the whole, for me, the story just did not resonate. It was just too sad and too rushed, and there wasn't enough magic. It's hard for me to put it, but that's the word I'm going to use over and over and over again. It's just, it was missing something. It was missing that magic that like made you fall in love with these characters and the stories as a child. For me, at least. Yeah,
I just, that's all I kept getting through the whole movie was magic, magic, magic. I do think it was dramatically cliche, the whole turnaround redemption thing.
Sure.
But I did like that the whole breaking down and simplifying things, and actually having fun with it causes a creative idea that was actually really well done with the whole luggage thing.
Yeah.
But the whole middle of that, I mean, we immediately see where it's going. I like the way that it got there, but all the middle stuff with him, getting frustrated with Pooh, and getting lost in the 100 Acres Woods himself. It was just like kind of an immediate switch, and all of a sudden, hey, I'm better, and that was a bit over the top. But I did really like the interactions between Christopher Robin and Pooh for the most part, and I loved Pooh in the real world, especially like just his fondness for the balloon.
Right.
That got me. I love that. I love the balloon. It's very iconic for Pooh, and it
makes him happy.
It makes him happy, and it was a minor character in and of itself. But then also when Pooh's kind of like rummaging around the kitchen, and the first time the honey jar cracked open, and I was rolling.
Right. I did notice that the music wasn't anything that really stood out, except for sometimes when there'd be like little musical cues that would kind of play off the theme from like the cartoons that we would hear. But otherwise, like music wise, there wasn't a lot going on. Like I didn't feel like there was like any big like roaring musical soundtrack that made me like, that like really built up and ramped up, emotion in me one way or another. But I mean, it was all kind of just, the music was appropriate to the time and period, but there was nothing there, so to speak of, except for, like I said, little musical cues, little hints towards some of the original music from the cartoons.
Mostly when it was related to a specific character.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I guess that's maybe the second best way you can have music is where you don't notice the music. The first being is, you have a rousing theme, Star Wars.
Right.
But it can also be a distraction. And I did not feel distracted by the music at all. Barely noticed it, though I'm sure it would be much more noticeable without it there. So there's that. Right. Let's see. What else? What other ways do you want to rip this baby apart like a poor Eeyore?
There was some really good cinematography in this movie. There was some scenes that were very beautifully shot. I'm thinking specifically of a scene kind of up on a hill with Pooh and Christopher Robin a time or two, and then there was a scene where kind of the whole family's with in the 100 Acre Woods, all kind of having a picnic. I felt like some of the ways that things were portrayed and shot with the fog. And then with, kind of Pooh walking around and looking at Christopher Robin's little house there. I think, visually, I think it was really, really good. I really liked the visuals of the movie.
I really, really liked the live action representation of the 100 Acre Woods a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that was an area that they could have overdone it easily. But it all felt appropriate, yet fantastical at the same time. But in the subtle, this is just a slightly off version of reality because it's Christopher Robin's imagination originally, right?
Right.
And I think that translated. I think they did a good job of translating that. Even the pit thing where he's, I also love. I gotta say, I loved that the whole Huffalump thing. With them thinking that he's a Huffalump, and Eeyore again steals the scene by playing along with it. Like, oh yeah, there's the Huffalump. Oh, there's probably more of them, and
right. He got the woozle.
Nothing special, just my birthday.
Right. Like I was saying. I'm with you. Like some of the way they shot all that was really good. Like it did feel authentic to the 100 Acre Woods. The stuff that was set in London just kind of seemed like, a London period piece movie. Like nothing really stood out to me.
Oh, there was one thing that stood out to me. And that's one thing they could have done without, and that was his annoying neighbor.
Oh, yeah. What was that all about? Hey, can we play some gin rummy? Hey, can we play some gin rummy? I got to come over to play some gin rummy. I mean, What was the whole point of that?
They could have introduced it once as a neighbor character, whatever, and that's it. But it became an inside joke in the show. It's like, oh, this is overdone.
I realized that the only purpose that whole character had to serve was really just to get Christopher Robin into the park so he meets Pooh. That's basically what it was. It was just diversion. I was like, they could have done with that. And then of course they used it to make a joke, but really that's the only purpose that character really serves, is to be an annoyance so that Christopher Robin sees him and then, kind of ducks into the park to avoid him, and that's where he meets Pooh. That's it. He was the cantina scene in in The Last Jedi, essentially. Pretty much unneeded.
He was the slicer.
Yep. So there was that. I did a little research. Disney has not said how much the production budget was on this movie. They haven't given those numbers out, which I can't imagine it was made on the cheap, because that's a lot of CGI to bring to life those characters.
Yep.
But I do know that it's been out for 3 weeks now, and its first week, opening weekend, it made about $24.5 million. And then in the next weekend, it made about $13 million. And then this last weekend, it made about $9 million. So it had a 47% drop week 1 to 2, and then a 31% drop week 2 to 3. And so right now, it's just about at $67 million domestic.
That's not good.
3 weeks. It's not very good. And I wonder if what you said earlier is kind of coming true. It's kind of a little under the radar. Like, I don't feel like it was
not
maybe being
marketed at all.
I don't believe it was being marketed very well and being pushed very well. And I wonder if that was because Disney's kind of making some of these movies where they're kind of nostalgia and kind of redoing things, but they figure they don't need to push hard on it, which is interesting to me because I read something else saying that Disney's, the rights to Winnie the Pooh that they got from A.A. Milne's, estate basically through a twist or two or so until it got there, but that it has made more money and been a more recognizable character for Disney than Mickey Mouse at times. And Winnie the Pooh has just made them so much money. And so I wondered if maybe Disney was thinking, it's Winnie the Pooh, we don't need to push this thing super hard.
They didn't need to push it super hard, but you've got to put
least
it up on a billboard
push.
Somewhere.
Right.
Someone's got to see it to know that it's there. And then, word of mouth. I mean, I know many people that have seen this and have really enjoyed it. And then I can't believe that even a minuscule amount of marketing effort wouldn't have made a huge difference here.
Yeah. I mean, it just seems like those numbers are really low for where I thought it would be on its third week. I mean, I figured kids would be flocking to this thing. It's the end of the summer. School hasn't really started back when this movie released, 3 weeks ago.
But do modern kids really know about Pooh? I mean, this is really... So this is an interesting demographic because I don't see them really targeting adults because, I mean, it's a kid's thing, and you're probably a good example of, going to see this without your kids is kind of, nah.
Yeah.
Kids aren't really familiar with Pooh. It's not the new latest and greatest. It's not Pokemon. So they don't really have any kind of knowledge of this. So really it's a parents plus their kid targeted audience. I mean, I can't imagine this being successful any other way. But the kids aren't really going to get marketing on their own. Well, I mean, they may see it on YouTube or whatever, but they're not going to really give two licks about it. Who cares about Winnie the Pooh? But, parents that want to share that nostalgia with their kids, the shared experience that I had with Morgana, all the friends that I've talked to that have seen it with their kids, and they just absolutely adored it. I think it's also a good date movie. I think the sentimentality of it, especially for adults that are familiar with Pooh, could be good. But it really needed some marketing to push it, and it didn't have it. So
I was curious because you were saying, you don't wonder if like a lot of kids know this. I mean, my kids know this, and they've, they watch the Pooh stuff. So I did a quick search. obviously had The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, which came out in 1977. So just like, like right around the time, we were being born.
I was
And
4,
then-
thanks.
Well, okay. I mean, I was trying to give you a little bit. I was -2. And then you had a movie. These are the Disney Animation Studio films. Then you have a movie in 2011 called Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
Then you had Disney Toon Studios films like the Tigger movie, which is in 2000, Piglet's Big Movie, which is in 2003, and Pooh's Heffalump movie, which is 2005. Plus, you had like the direct-to-video stuff like Pooh's Grand Adventure, The Search for Christopher Robin, which was in 97, Seasons of Giving in 99, The Book of Pooh, Stories from the Heart in 2001, Very Merry Pooh Year, Springtime with Roo, Pooh's Heffalump movie, Halloween movie, Super Sleuths, like all these like this. Then you have like short films, plus you have some TV series stuff that came out because you remember there was a cartoon series in the 90s, like late 80s, early 90s that ran The New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh and Friends, and My Friends Tigger and Pooh, which ran from 2007 to 2010. So I'd say there's actually been a lot of coverage over direct to film, major motion pictures, television series, shorts. So I'd say Winnie the Pooh's probably had pretty good coverage. I feel like every few years we get something Winnie the Pooh related to kind of get newer kids in, and then, newer kids get brought in, then they go back and see the old stuff.
The funny thing is until you brought those up, I didn't even remember those were there.
Right.
Which is kind of sad. Because I've seen them all.
Because I think for you and me, people of our generation, it's really like The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. It's the Winnie the Pooh and the Honey Tree, and Winnie the Pooh and the Blustery Day, the Winnie Pooh and Tigger 2. It's that kind of stuff. A Day for Eeyore. It's all the little short films that got put into Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh.
Fair enough.
That's the big things. But yes, so like I said, about $67 million domestic so far. I just
that's like a single showing at a single time for any Marvel movie.
Right.
I mean, like if they all played at every theater at the same time. Anyway.
So it's a little low in my opinion. I thought that would have been higher, but word of mouth, maybe it sticks around for a little bit, but
I do know
bigger life on video.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, video, DVD these days, streaming. I do know that Disney does really, really well with. I want to say video now. It's DVD. So the home releases, the Disney collectors, the people that need to have everything Disney. That's a huge, huge market, and that's why they kind of put them in postmortem for a while and then bring them back out every,
the vault.
every 15, 20 years, whatever. So I don't think this movie is done, and I expect it to do much higher at the home market, but that's pretty disappointing. But I mean, what's at risk, really? Are they going to suddenly not make any more cartoons? Very doubtful.
Right. So let's give our Fortress of Nerditude review here. Stu, would you recommend this movie to friends and family?
I would recommend it to parents to take with their kids, unless if you're a huge Pooh fan. It's iffy. I would have thought it's a sure win, but you're kind of proving otherwise. So I would still recommend it, though. I had a blast. I loved it. Morgana loved it. It was definitely one of my favorite movies to see with Morgana.
I would say this is my recommendation, if you have kids that are really into Winnie the Pooh and they're of an appropriate age that they could...
Appropriate ages makes sense there, yeah.
Handle the kind of the depressing nature of Christopher Robin's midlife crisis, then by all means, take your kids. If you're not a big Pooh fan, or you liked the movies, the movies when you were a kid, but it really doesn't strike with you, I think you can pass on this. Wait till it comes to streaming somewhere and then see it.
I would say it's safe to say if you're not a Pooh fan already, this movie is not going to change your mind. Yeah,
that's true. It's worth watching when it comes to streaming somewhere. I saw it with my AMC Stubbs A-list. I would not have paid to go see this movie. Now having seen it, that's just me.
I would have.
But to each his own. Nothing's going to hit everyone the same. And there's been plenty of times where I've seen something I haven't cared for, and lots of people have loved it. I'm thinking of the movie Avatar. I think that was a big steaming pile, but I know lots of people who loved that movie. So
I liked Avatar. I didn't love it.
But here's something I think you and I can both agree on. We do love Winnie the Pooh, and we love the Winnie the Pooh characters.
Yes.
So my question to you, Stu, and my question to the super friends out there this week is, who is your favorite Winnie the Pooh character?
Eeyore, hands down. I think Eeyore is depressing, and he's always morose, and there's some negativity to that and some stigma. But I think Eeyore is also the realist and the smartest one of the bunch. Honestly, even smarter than Owl when it comes to having knowledge of the situation. Eeyore calls it like it is. And I think his depressing nature is so over the top that it makes it humorous and kind of, points to the futility of it. But he's got a charm to him as well. Like the playing along with Christopher Robin to convince people the Heffalump was there. Totally in character. Love the heck out of Eeyore. And Eeyore definitely was not losing any marks in this movie. I think we both agree.
Yeah, I agree with that. As a kid, I would have said my favorite character was Tigger.
Yep.
Because I loved Tigger, and Tigger's full of life and energy and bouncing around, and that spoke to me as a kid. As an adult, I'm with you. I love Eeyore. Eeyore is super funny. He's the comic relief, like the just out and outright like deadpan, comic relief that I love. That it just makes me laugh. He stole the show in this movie. And all the things you said as well, along with Eeyore. I mean, he's probably the smartest out of all of them.
Yeah. Pooh was in great Pooh form in this movie for sure.
Very
so if you
true.
like Pooh, you're going to like Pooh in this.
And that is true. But I want to hear from you, super friends. I want to know, who is your favorite Winnie the Pooh character? Which character from the 100 Acre Woods hits you the best? And remember the little mole miner, the little what's his name?
Oh yeah.
The little what's his name? The little guy that pops up. He's in the movies, he's not in the book. I don't care if you like him or not. You can have that answer.
He's in the running.
He's in the running. I'm not looking for a purist, like your character has to only be in the books or has to only be in the movies.
I was so upset by Christopher Robin because that character wasn't in the books and blah, 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 blah.
Right. I hope someone comes up and says the bee from Winnie the Pooh and the Honey Tree. That just would make me laugh. Anyway, super friends, thank you for spending some time with us this week. We want to hear from you. Hit us up at all the normal places. Our email, which is fortofnerd@gmail.com, Facebook, facebook.com/fortofnerd, Twitter, which is @fortofnerd, or our voicemail, 801-477-7687. And Stu will beg you for voicemails. Let us know.
No, I'm done with that nonsense.
Let us know who your favorite Winnie the Pooh character is, and we will read your answers next week.
Fantastic.
Stu, a lot of fun tonight once again, as always.
I'm glad you went inside. Even if you didn't enjoy it, I'm glad that we could kind of talk about it in this format. Again, had a lot of fun with it. Spending time with Morgana is always awesome, and so when we share something like that, it was great. Being able to share it with the super friends. I love being able to talk about something like this rather than just, like a casual conversation with somebody else. And right. I like that we get feedback, and I like to hear what everyone's got to say.
And I can't talk about it with my wife yet because she hasn't seen it, and I do not want to tell her that I didn't necessarily care for it that much. I like parts of it, but not on the whole, because then she might not go see it, and I know she does. So I'm glad we had a chance to talk. And
fair enough.
Yeah. Anyway, well, super friends, from all of us here at the Fortress of Nerditude to all of you out there, wherever you may be, may the Force be with you. Always.
the Pooh, Winnie the Pooh.
Tubby little cubby all stuffed with fluff. He's Winnie the Pooh, Pooh, Winnie the Pooh, Pooh, willy-nilly silly old bear.